Ashley Rozi, who is playing Jeskai Control. So we will be underway here in just a moment. Watch some more modern action, then talk some more Kaladesh cards. Make sure you do chime in at SCG Live, hashtag SCGORL all weekend long. We want to answer questions about cards that you guys are interested in from Kaladesh. So fire away. We're taking questions all weekend long about those awesome new cards. As BBD is going to start things off with a Noble Hierarch.
So we've been speaking the praises of Band Eldrazi and its ability to get out on the battlefield fast and play pretty aggressive Magic, but not be all in like decks like Affinity. In fact, one of the vulnerabilities of Band Eldrazi is that you're just a lot more susceptible to 4-mana sweepers. The Wrath of Gods and Damnations of the world are a lot better against you because you're not quite as fast as Affinity, or in fact, you don't do quite as much with your lands in terms of having threats there as well. So I think your Jeskai Control matchup gets a little bit worse as a result of that because cards like Wrath of God and Day of Judgment are just going to be pretty prevalent throughout the 75.
Brian has a Matter Shaper now for an Eldrazi Temple. You saw the Lightning Bolt take care of the Noble Hierarch. BBD able to play that Noble Hierarch off of a Windswept Heath and a Temple Garden. And he is at 17 because of that. However, for Ashley, no second land, just an Ancestral Visions on suspend, past the turn back. Brian with another copy of Matter Shaper. And this game might end pretty quickly here if Rozi doesn't draw a couple of lands, as the Visions will tick down to 3 counters. So draw a copy of Nahiri. It's a Serum Visions. So draw a card. And now it's time to scry 2. Well, it looks like there were 2 Nahiris that are going to the bottom.
That's an easy bottom.
Yeah. All right, there's a Sulfur Falls and simply pass the turn back. Over to BBD we go. He'll draw.
I mean, Rozi's got some tools. She does have Snapcaster with a Bolt in the graveyard. She can draw a 3rd land next turn. In theory, that stabilizes things. She also has Path to Exile. So she's got some good tools to work with, but of course this is predicated on the 3rd land and getting to white mana.
Ancient Stirrings to play here from Brian. He'll take a look at the top 5 cards. See what he will select. He'll go with Cavernous Souls, a very nice option against the old Jeskai Control deck.
Especially with Eldrazi Temple, now he can use the Temple to generate the colorless mana that he needs, and he can use the uncounterable mode on Cavernous Souls should that come up.
There's the Cavern. I have to assume it's naming Eldrazi, as here's a copy of Eldrazi. Sky Spawner, it'll bring a sign along with it, and Ancestral Visions will tick down to 2. I got a feeling, however, that that Ancestral Visions, I don't think it's going to come off suspend this game.
Nope. Which, for me, as a competitive Magic player, was the most rewarding thing.
Here's a Reality Smasher that's uncounterable, and I think Ashley Rozi's Reality is about to be smashed. Looking at a remand.
Yeah. One of my favorites.
That's a lot of damage. Carry the 2.
Right, and it's negative all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to do it. Brian Braun-Duin is going to win game number 1 here over Ashley Rozi. Band Eldrazi very quickly up a game here over Jeskai Control. The Jeskai deck needs lands to operate, as most decks do in Modern.
Yes. End of analysis.
To the sideboard, we are going to go. We will start with Ashley and 3 Geist of Saint Trap, 2 Crumble to Dust, 2 Stony Silence, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Negate, 1 Wear Tear, and then 1 Dispel. Do we like anything here?
You can talk me. You can talk me into Anger of the Gods. It's not great in the matchup. You know, BBD's deck's got a lot of 4 and 5 toughness threats, but probably still pulls enough weight.
Yeah, I mean, it's as good as Lightning Bolt is, right? You know, Lightning Bolt's not great against Band Eldrazi, so it serves the reason that Anger of the Gods isn't great either. Well,
it interacts a little bit better with the mana creatures. Lightning Bolt does. Anger of the Gods is much better against Meta Reshaper. So, I mean, there's push-pull in both directions. I think it's probably good enough to play only because the decks like this often have dead weight for particular matchups game 1. There's got to be worse cards in the deck that you could cut here and replace.
Cards like Remand or Mana Leak against a deck that you assume has 4 copies of Cavernous Souls, which Brian's deck does.
And also just a deck that's also doing a lot of stuff for 2 mana, essentially 2 mana anyway. It's not like these exchanges are very good, so you could probably shave out some of the counters.
Over to BBD's sideboard, you got 3 Negates, 3 Stony Silence, 2 Engineer Explosives, 2 Elspeth Sun's Champion, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, and a Singleton Spellskite.
The 3 copies of the Negate and the Spellskite seem like pretty easy cards to add. A lot of stuff to counter and a lot of removal to redirect to Spellskite.
This feels like a positive matchup for Band Eldrazi, I think.
I think that I would rather be on the Jeskai Control side of the matchup just because I think cards like Wrath of God and the spot removal are so good here. That said, Rozi needs to draw, you know, lands and the corresponding sweepers for that to really matter.
Very true. Very true. As these two players do finish sideboarding, Ashley will be on the play to begin game number 2. Let's talk about the Season 3 schedule here on the SCG Tour, where we started with the New Jersey Invitational that was won by Liam Lonergan. Richmond Weekend was won by Ted Felicetti, and now we're here in Orlando going to figure out who's going to win that tournament before we get ready for the big weekend. Our favorite weekend of the year, Kaladesh Release Weekend.
Yeah, week 1 of Standard in Indianapolis, October 1 and 2. We take a week off, and then we will have the regional championships. Go.starcitygames.com/regionals for more information. Find the regional closest to you. We've posted all of the sites there. After that, we head to Milwaukee for a Modern Open. After Milwaukee, we go to Baltimore, then Columbus, then Knoxville, and then we close out Season 3 in Atlanta, December 2nd through the 4th, Standard and Modern as the invitational formats.
Now, of course, with Season 3 of the SCG Tour, that means that new playmats are on the way. Now, for our Standard Opens and Classics, you play one of those, you're going to get the very powerful Dark Salvation playmat. I played against this one at the old Team Grand Prix last weekend. Pretty tough to beat when they cast that one, just so that you know. For our Modern players who played in our main event this weekend, they're going to get themselves the beautiful Steel Overseer. And then for Legacy, I know, not our favorite card for coverage, but it is beautiful artwork. It is Sensei's Divining Top for our Legacy Open and Classic players. So you play in an Open. It's Standard, for Modern, for Legacy. You'll get the corresponding playmat free and exclusive for your entry in each of those tournaments.
Been playing some sealed leagues, getting ready for the new set to come out. You know what card I have found difficult to beat?
Ooh, what's that?
All of them. Every single one. Every single one has been really hard to beat so far.
Having some difficulty winning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's tough to hear. All of them is a real robust answer.
Every last card my opponent plays. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do about this?
Well, someone who's not having trouble winning like yourself, the world champion, Braun-Duin, he's doing just fine. The 30-year-old who currently resides in Roanoke, Virginia with 14 open top 8s, looking for number 15 this weekend with 1 open win, 4 invitational top 8s. Surprisingly, no wins for him. He's had a pretty storied invitational history of making deep runs, 10-0 starts, 11-0 starts, sometimes making the top 8, sometimes not, but no victory for him just yet. Was studying computer science, but left to focus on Magic, and he is now the Magic the Gathering World Champion. You know, one of the things about all the coverage we've done of the SCG Tour over the past 3-4 years is we got to watch Brian grow a lot as a player, and to see him work his way from, you know, SCG Tour grinder, PTQ grinder, all of that stuff. He's put the time, the hours in, and now he's a world champion.
Yeah, there's a lot of players we've gotten to watch that arc. You know, BBD definitely the top of the list now as the world champion. Todd Anderson, Ross Merriam. There's a lot of players that we've gotten to watch their arc as players go from playing in these events and playing in the Grand Prix and eventually building up invitational and Pro Tour resumes, and it's very cool to watch, and obviously culminating recently for BBD with a World Championship win, so congratulations to him.
Absolutely. And now he is here in Orlando, I think trying to make a little bit of a run to get back to the Players' Championship as well here during season number 3. You see he's number 28 right now on our Player of the Year leaderboard, which allowed him to have a bye for the weekend. So we saw him testing a little bit earlier with Michael Majors.
Yeah. Just another more stink of elitism coming off of him with his bye.
I know.
Just sitting there, not even playing Magic and getting wins. What is that?
Another elitist pro.
Yep.
BBD.
Yep.
Not someone I would even consider approaching in a tournament.
Right. Sitting with Michael Majors, another elitist. Did you see?
This with his great hair.
Gel in his hair.
Yeah.
Surefire sign of elitism.
That's right.
Pants on.
Yep.
Just so sick of of this culture.
Unbelievable. Says so much by saying so little.
Yeah. Socks and shoes.
Actually taking a long look at the opener.
If I never see any of these people again, it'll be too soon.
Yeah. Just that's the vibe you got.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
Here's the Serum Visions from Rozi. 1 top, 1 bottom. We'll head Brian's way. Looks like Negate may have been the draw step.
Yep. Very easy sideboard card to bring in this matchup where you would imagine some mixture of Wrath of God, Hallowed Burial type cards, spot removal.
A Flooded Strand is what Rozi will sacrifice. It's going to fall down to at least 19, potentially 17 here.
It's been a consequence of the uptick, I think, of Ban Eldrazi is there's just more copies of Wrath of God and Damnation floating around. I think people usually default to, well, I want to have, you know, something like Spell Pierce, or I want to have Dispel, just the 1 mana stuff because the format's so fast. But I think this deck has widened the range of spells that get played enough that you just want to play with Negate.
Another copy of Serum Visions. Rozi will draw a card. Now it's time to scry 2. Going to consult the hand. There was a land and a spell there. The Hiri in hand. Both are going to the bottom. We head back over to BBD.
I believe Rozi has lands 3 and 4 rolled up, so just going to scry to the bottom off of those.
Cavern Souls. We'll see what it's naming here. Again, most likely Eldrazi. Anger of the Gods to draw. You had a feeling it was going to come in, and there it is. You mentioned lands 3 and 4 rolled up. You're right about that. Also, a couple copies of Snapcaster Mage.
Like that alongside the Serum Visions.
Yeah, it's just good deck building right there. There's Snapcaster Mage. Going to target the Serum Visions now. Get to recast it, draw another card.
Yes. Has a creature in play also.
Yeah.
A lot to like here.
That's right.
A lot of nickels and a lot of dimes.
2 Path to Exiles are staying on top of the deck. Let's see what we have here. Is it Thought-Knots here? It is. There will be a trigger. And now we take a look at the hand. Snapcaster's Lightning Bolt. Oh, excuse me. Snapcaster's Anger of the Gods.
Snapcaster Mage.
Yes, that. Along with Nahiri. And that Path to Exile on top of the... I mean, there are 2 paths on top and then 1 in the grip.
Yep.
It's going to be hard for Ban Eldrazi to work through, along with all those Snapcaster Mages.
Yep. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Snapcaster Mage. Still good with spells.
I think you want to play Jeskai so you can just say Snapcaster Mage and
Remand.
Remand. Yeah, I think that's why you want to play the deck. Not so much about the power level.
I wouldn't be opposed.
Okay.
I would not be opposed.
To be fair, it is a really good deck.
I'm not a big fan of fighting fair in Modern. I've made my position on this clear, and Jeskai is kind of a fair deck. But that said, a lot of really powerful cards here, and also plenty of opportunities to say things like Remand.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can talk me into it. And that Path to Exile is really nice here because then the Thought-Knot Seer triggers, and then that's another Path to Exile to pair with Snapcaster Mages.
Yeah. You got it all figured out.
And BBD will be at 18.
That's yeah.
A lot to like.
Start to get to work on that life total.
Yeah, there's a lot to like here.
Now there is a Scalding Tarn. Rozi with a lot of options at her disposal. Just going to pass the turn back for right now. So not actually going to bring Brian down to 18.
Okay.
Counter Soul's a draw.
I suppose things could develop in such a way from Rozi's side of the table, depending on what BB does here before combat, that she would like to double block with 2 Snapcaster Mages on the Thought-Knots there and use a removal spell on a Reality Smasher or something like that. So no reason to rush just yet.
There's Brushland. Brian going to take 1, it appears. For an Ancient Stirrings. This will resolve. Brian will take a look at the top 5 cards. Most likely to take 1 with him as this deck has plenty of colorless ones. Engineer Explosive still in the deck. Matter Shaper among the cards found as well for the World Champion. However, he will be selecting a Thought-Knot Seer. So Thought-Knot Seer will go to the grip. Ancient Stirrings is done resolving. And now there is another copy of Thought-Knot Seer.
So I think this is where we're going to see a response here from Rozi, I would imagine, with the Path to Exiles and Snapcaster Mages coming into play.
Get those creatures out of here. Now, even though she has plenty of resources at her disposal, she's got to use them all right.
Yep.
Now, that's the thing.
Well, I think this is, you want a path so you can draw the path and then Snapcaster the path. And then BBD does whatever he does with the discard triggers, but you're drawing cards when you're on the way out the door.
So there's a path. Draw a card from the Thought-Knot. As Brian's going to search up a land. Picked up another path. So now here's the next path. So Brian will search again. And Ashley gets to draw a card. Okay. And now the reveal of the hand from the actual Thought-Knot trigger.
Cryptic Command.
You know you can just enunciate every card like that, right?
But I only like doing it with the blue cards that ignore text boxes. Those
Okay.
are the
Those
only
are your
ones that
favorite ones?
get the treatment.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. Cryptic Command, Anger of the Gods. Nahiri, 2 Snapcaster Mages. That's the grip here.
Memory lapse.
What? You want to do Mana Leak really quick?
Mana Leak.
There it is. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of one that has a lot of syllables, so it messes up what you're trying to do.
Let me.
It's actually kind of hard.
Yeah.
Because now I just thought of like rewind.
Rewind's a good one. Yeah. That is really good.
See what card Brian.
I'm sure.
He's gonna
I'm
take
sure.
The Planeswalker.
I'm sure Legends will yield some good ones.
Yeah,
in this
probably. Probably. Now Rozi's going to sacrifice that Scalding Tarn, and we're going to see him search up a land here in just a moment. Let's see what land she wants to grab. It's going to be a Steam Vents, okay. So all the colors are online.
Yep.
And it's a pretty good hand. I mean, no Nahiri, but still Snapcaster Mage. And the Gods, which isn't going to do a ton.
Definitely ahead.
Yeah, it seems like she's in a very favorable position, and then we have to see what the draw step's going to yield. Didn't get a great look.
In the eye of chaos.
Okay. That's
Told ya.
I don't even know what that card does.
I think it makes interrupts cost twice as much or something. I don't know. Just it's a card though.
Okay, I believe you. The draw was a Celestial Colonnade. That's the land for the turn. For Ashley and
Boom. See?
All instants and interrupts are countered unless their caster pays initial X. Okay. It's just good artwork. What's the commission there?
Do we want to do the retrofit the art description to the piece of art
what was
game?
the art description here?
I can't even speculate.
I need.
There wasn't a consistent style guide back then. They just had artists kind of submit pieces of art, you know?
I need a Viking Demon.
Yep. Shooting electric beams.
Yep. As soon as you possibly can. Reality Smasher, beatdowns. Remember, through the cavern. So uncounterable.
So a couple options here for Rozi. There was one which is just Cryptic Command to tap and draw a card and reassess the next turn. And then there's this option of Snapcaster back a path, discard the Anger of the Gods, it doesn't really matter, and try to take care of the Reality Smasher that way.
Assuming, of course, that the path is going to resolve. Now, Brian has a copy of Negate in his hand. So for Ashley, this is not a guarantee. And Brian looks like he will negate. So her path to exile is countered, and it's exiled now as well, since it was recast by Snapcaster Mage. And now there's a 5/5 Trampler out there, which is not easy for Jessica to deal with. And here is the cleanest way to take care of that 5/5, but it does not appear as though she has that just yet. Snapcaster Mage, Cryptic Command, Mystery Card in the grip. Vendilion Click is the other blue card.
Oh, that's a good one too. Vendilion Click.
Yeah, sure is. All right, going beatdowns.
I feel like Rozi does have the tools to manage this, though. Very good hand. BBD is low on resources here. She has a Cryptic to kind of freebie through combat one turn.
Windswept Heath the draw. Displacer in hand. Seen worse. Attack step? Not quite. Cryptic Command. I have to imagine tap draw.
Yep. Just try to float through one turn here.
All right, tap draw it is. Colonnade the draw off the Cryptic Command. Cabinet Souls here for BBD. Again, you have to imagine naming Eldrazi. Now there is an Eldrazi. An Eldrazi Displacer. With a lot of mana to work with. 6 to be exact. Vendilion Click, I believe, the draw yet again here for Rozi. we're getting ourselves into a pretty interesting game here.
And the displacer makes it a little bit harder for Rozi to manage this game via, try to manage my chump blocks here and try to trade off in combat. So now she's got to try to lean on her spells, but that's also very difficult to do in the face of a displacer and a reality smasher.
All right, there's V-click. Looks like in the draw step. Typically a good place to cast it. And it looks like it's going to resolve and target Brian, and now this is on the stack.
And having a Vendilion click here, pretty nice for Rozi. On top of the discard here, which could be good depending on what is going on in BBD's hand, it means she has a creature that can straight up line up with the displacer. And it's not like BBD is really that interested in displacing a Vendilion click over and over again.
Yeah, or Snapcaster Mage.
Right.
Either one. Looks like Brian may have found a Path to Exile, however. And he has. All right. Rozi will search. I'll check the mana here. Plenty of whites, not a ton of red. Yeah, I'd get a mountain. Brian going to play Windswept Heath. And now there is a Noble Hierarch. So now Brian's cardless.
Yep.
Out of resources. Though Displacer is an on-table resource, as Reality Smasher will enter the attack step. It's going to come across for 5. Let's make it 6 with the Noble Hierarch Exalted trigger. Looks like Rozi's just going to take that damage. Down to 5, she will go. And now the Snapcaster Mage plus Path to Exile shenanigans, that's kind of off the table because of the Displacer. You have to start with the Displacer.
Right. Well, the other option now is the Snapcaster back the Cryptic, float through another combat step, and hope to find Wrath of God, Timely Reinforcement, some other thing like that.
Okay.
But I don't know if she can really manage the battlefield with what she has currently in hand and on the table, because the Displacer just mucks up blocking so much, and the Reality Smasher is lethal. So I think the best line to play, or the line that I would pursue at least, would just be to try to Cryptic here, get through one more turn, and hope to draw one of your big cards. I mean, even if you found a copy, if you Cryptic commanded and then found a copy of Nahiri, now you can Nahiri minus take care of the Displacer, and now maybe you can manage what the leftovers.
Well, I guess the option that I kind of like, I mean, it's not great. Assuming there's a Path to Exile in the graveyard, you snap Path, Displacer, and then you triple block the Smasher.
Sure, yep.
I mean, it's not great, but I don't think that Rozi's in a great spot.
Yeah, so then you fall to 2.
You got to beat the Hierarch.
Yeah.
You have Colonnade as a blocker, Vendilion click in hand. There are options. I think she might be thinking about your Cryptic command play.
I think it's the highest ceiling. It's definitely the highest ceiling play, because if she finds one of her best cards here, then she pulls way ahead.
Okay. Going to recast Cryptic.
And she still has the opportunity here to draw to Wrath of God, or Lightning Bolt, or something else that handles the Displacer specifically. And then that line of play that you just mentioned is still available the following turn.
Cavern of Souls here from Brian. Pass that turn back. This Cavern is naming Human.
Yeah, we already got the one on Eldrazi, so now we can cast Noble Hierarchs through it.
Rozi will sacrifice a fetch land, fall down to 4. Gonna figure out which land to grab. Basic Island. Big draw step. Big draw step.
She finds a sweeper or an answer to the Displacer. I think she's in a very good spot.
Yep.
Not a lock, but a very good spot.
Time to untap. And draw. Timely reinforcements.
That's something to work with.
I don't hate it.
And in fact, Rozi might be able to just attack here. She might be able to try to close this thing out over 2 turns. Because she goes up to 10.
Yep.
There's not 10 points of damage on the way back.
Yep. Unless Brian top deck something good. But you can actually kind of control that because of Vendilion Click in hand.
Yep. And then you have Vendilion Click plus the Colonnade is 7 in the air with the 6 that you deal this turn, getting him down to 7. The Displacer makes all of this tricky.
Yeah, but I want to get my shots in while I can because Displacer is not going to target Snapcaster Mage.
Right.
That's not going to happen. So in this instance, I think I agree with you. I want to get in with all 3 Snapcaster Mages, bring Brian down to 7, play Timely Reinforcements. Not going to get any creatures. And even if you were to get creatures, they would just get displaced. Go up to 10, and then if it kind of puts the onus on Brian to top deck, really.
Yep.
And you can control the top deck with the Vendilion Click in hand.
And you're still drawing to basically all the same cards you were drawing to before.
Yeah, pretty good situation. Ooh, what do we have here? Is this Colonnade firing up? This is a little risky.
Oh, no, because she still has the 3 mana left over after the fact to cast Timely Reinforcements.
Well, if the Colonnade gets displaced.
This gets placed. Yeah.
And there's the battlefield tap. This is a little bit risky. This play I like less because Brian doesn't have anything else to do with his mana, so I just can't imagine him not displacing this.
Right, and it's imperative for Rozi to be able to cast the Timely Reinforcements this turn.
Mm-hmm. She's trying to figure out exactly what she wants to attack with, how many Snapcasts and all that stuff. I would be shocked, if Brian doesn't. Yeah, it's just a free roll.
Right.
Yeah, this was just too aggressive of a turn.
Yeah, I liked moving with some number of the Snapcasters, but the Colonnade here is just too easy for BBD to mess up, and now we're seeing it.
Yeah. And so now with the Displacer activation on the Colonnade, now Rozi has to decide if I'm going to move with the Vendilion Click, if I'm just going to let it be tapped, what have you. But the Vendilion Click can be taken care of by the Displacer as well. And now with the fact that she is essentially, well, tapped out mana-wise, not tapped out creature-wise, but Displacer can tap them.
Yeah,
I think we're just looking at lethal on the way to that.
This is just dead on board now.
So Brian's going to displace the Vendilion Click. There will be a trigger, of course. Displace the Snapcaster Mage, there will be a trigger, and that's going to do it. So Braun-Duin is going to win this match here over Ashley Rozi, 2-0. Bant Eldrazi will take care of Jeskai Control, and the world champion, with just another elitist victory, moves on to 2-0.
Good stuff. I'll be able to play through. You got to see a lot of the dimensions of Bant Eldrazi and its robustness against removal spells. There was an Anger of the Gods there, didn't really line up against the size of BBD's creatures, and Displacer, Reality Smasher, these were all very problematic cards for Rozi to handle, and even with the deck not trying to do the most explosive things possible in the format, not really trying to kill in the 3rd or 4th turn, he was able to get out early and kind of leverage it the whole way through.